Greetings, ladies and gentlemen, it is I, the one and only Maxi here once again, and I'm back for yet again for the likes of the Maxi Toys videos, as always. So ladies and gentlemen, welcome back for some more of Let's Play of Kirby and the Forgotten Land for the Nintendo Switch. So, last time, we've essentially did manage to complete it, 2 levels specifically, when it comes to Isolated Isles Forgo Dreams, which are both Forgo Park, along with the forms of Forgo horns, at least as far as I can usually try to record that. So all in all, that was actually a pretty successful run, especially noticeable when it comes to forms of, well, to be more specifically, just trying to obtain one of those Leon souls at the very end of that particular, you know what I mean, Forgo horns and all that jazz. So yeah, everything else should be good to go for the most part when it comes to the forms of Artifactor. As you can tell, that so far we actually got up to 200 Leon souls, as you can see. So today, for this video, is the fact that we're also able to, miraculously, I think we should probably be able to actually just to wrap things up everything in terms of the forms of Isolated Isles, Forgo Dreams. So in this case though, here we go on to the next level on this world. This one appears to be Forgo Wasteland, and as far as I recall, this is obviously based off from the 5th world in the main playthrough, which is of course Original Wasteland. So, and yeah, just like any forms of Iridescent on any other recording sessions, unfortunately though, this is my second attempt for this recording session because, well, just like always, it's the fact that sometimes if I was missing something, and then basically it's the fact that I have to redo the entire stage all over again. Filled to the brim with the forms of Artifactor, it might be sometimes confusing at first, but then when you get the hang of it though, wow. It's hard to explain, because I know for the fact it has been about 2 days ago since I actually last played this. So, because obviously that, you know, Mighty, Ray, and especially noticeable with Pac-Man, they've pretty much been able to continue things on in terms of the forms of The Simpsons Hit and Run. So, yeah, you probably get the idea about that. So, anyway, so let's get this thing to it. Oh gosh, we now need to try to avoid a lot of poison stuff right here. So just in case we don't able to actually lose our copy ability and stuff like that. So as a result though, yeah, there's not much else we can obviously try to explain about this for the sake of convenience, that is. So anyways, let's grab one of those souls here. And let's not forget ourselves with the forms of that particular soul that appears to be somewhere onto that particular arena that just appears over there. So in this case though, let's dive straight into this. So, and obtain the blue coin in the process too. So, yeah, you get the idea of how that's gonna turn out to be, so. And as far as I'm aware, yeah, I can assure you that this might actually be one of the longest videos ever for the sake of the forms of this Let's Play so far. Well, this is pretty obvious, because like I said before, that hopefully for this video we can probably be able to actually just to complete everything for the sake of the forms of Isolated Isles Forgo Dreams, so we can potentially try to able to actually get the remainings of the forms of that particular Leon's soul. And as far as I'm aware, we've only got 100 left when it comes to the forms of trying to able to get every single soul. Or mind you, about the fact that the actual number of requirements for the amount of souls we need to get in order able to actually reach into the forms of the actual you know, the final level in the game. So in this case though, we need to able to obtain exactly about 250, at least as far as I can usually recall that. Because mind you, in this particular level we're going to be hitting into right now, obviously we need to collect about 49 of these Leon souls. So that way, we can potentially try to able to continue exploring through certain areas and all that jazz. So, yeah, a few things I want to explain for this point today, and that is the fact that today's day is of course the 5th of May today, in this case in 2022 today. So quite an interesting anniversary films has been usually becomes into play, although I'll get into more details about that later because we need to activate that switch. So just in case we need to able to use that particular forklifting, oh no, not so much forklifting, but to be more specifically this particular lift contraption, so that we can able to activate the malform mode with it. So just in case we can able to make our way to that particular crate that we can obviously try to destroy. So because of this though, while trying to avoid a lot of emphasis on, you know, cannon fires and also some abundance of enemies every once in a while. So yeah, that way we can able to actually get every single Leon's soul in this segment. So, And as far as you already know, is the fact that obviously we still manage to have ourselves our life ups every once in a while, so just in case we can able to actually just to defend ourselves. Mind you, it's a bit easy and stuff like that if you try to able to equip that. Well, just in case for my part, because obviously I don't want to able to actually get hit so many times, especially noticeable towards the end, so. And as far as you already know, is the fact that what is up with that particular blue arrows, as you saw from that particular HUD display. This actually represents you actually able to increase your speed, so that way you can able to actually run a bit faster. So because of this though, yeah, I think something's worth mentioning for the sake of convenience, that is, when it comes to forms of, not only for the sake of the forms of the speed little item you can get from the actual item shop, but also say applies to the forms of the power up or attack boost rather. That basically does the fact that you can only use it 5 times or something like that until you reach up for about 999 maximum potential. So because of that though, yeah, that way you can able to actually make the actual levels, especially noticeable during the last few portions of the game, pretty easy when you get the hang of it. So anyways, let's climb up onto the ladder. So just in case we can able to actually double check if there are some parts I was missing on. I think the actual, the biggest example of this, when it comes to the forms of how the fact that sometimes I always get confused when it comes to likely try to find a specific amount of items, to be more specifically in the next section coming up, that I swear to God that, like I said before, this is my second attempt with this recording session, and this also counts as the forms of whenever I was trying to play this on my own time, back in the forms of about a few days ago, or specifically a few weeks ago, that I swear to God, I'm always missing some of those couple of those Leon's soul, whenever I do manage to able to first time experiencing this particular level within the forms of one of those segments. Now, for the most part, the first 2 segments aren't too bad, but when it comes to the 3rd section, to me though, it's always kind of feels a bit misery in order able to try to find those godforsaken of those important collectibles sometimes, especially noticeable if I was trying to aim for the 100% completion, well, basically, I have no choice but to able to actually look upon guides sometimes. Like, I have no idea what I'm truly saying for this point right now, because I know for the fact that, like I said before, it's been about, 2 days ago since I've last played this, so because of this though, just for the sake of the forms that they changed uploading schedules for the sake of time, anyway. So I do apologize for that particular commentary is a little bit iffy at points, well, I must admit though right away, mainly because I somehow almost got myself my croaky throat, so, but don't worry, I'm fine, especially noticeable that unlike, let's just say last month, that you probably already know why, that I was feeling very, very rough and all that stuff. So yeah, at that point right there, I think on my first recording segment, I somehow missed that. So because of this though, yeah, thankfully I know exactly where that is. So yeah, it's just, believe me, it's just the fact that when a few forms of first impressions can go a bit all over the place sometimes, but when you get the hang of it though, it might not be too bad, so yeah, something's worth mentioning though, when it comes to the forms of today's discussion, is the fact that recently, well, ever since yesterday, technically speaking, is the fact that with the forms of both films, to be more specifically, made by Morpho and stuff like that, which are The Adventures, as well as the forms of Spider-Man 3, that both films have managed to celebrate their anniversaries, respectively. So in this case though, like for example, back in 2007, well, basically yesterday, happy 15th anniversary of the release of Spider-Man 3, which I still find the film okay, but nowhere near as amazing as the first film and the second film in my opinion, because both of those films are fantastic. Especially noticeable about the fact that with Green Goblin, as well as Dr. Oct, and all that stuff though, which are the most entertaining villains when it comes to the forms of those both films respectively. And as far as the forms of the Adventures goes, specifically Marvel's Adventures, oh man, I can't even believe that film is now a decade old. Ever since when it first came out in 2012, like I already know for the fact that that particular film already made the top #1 when it comes to box office performance back in 2012 of all things. Despite I've not seen it back in the day, in day one, Mainly because, well, back in 2012 though, from my impressions of it though for 2012, sometimes it feels a bit all over the place, I will must admit though, mainly because of the forms of my life is a bit lazy back in the forms of in 2012. Mind you, because we already did manage to able to upload a lot of videos back in the day within a single day, which we don't do it every now and then now, mainly because we just weren't able to actually keep up with the actual views count for certain videos alike. Well, mind you, apart from a couple of exceptions, but either way though, let's not get ahead of ourselves, because either way though, we are now in 2022, so we can able to expect our uploading schedules, especially our views count, feels a little bit more slightly better than the forms of how it does it from, well, a decade ago, so... Anyway, so we got ourselves the blue capsule, so just in case we can able to get one of those random figurines and all that stuff though, so to be expected at this point. So, anyways, let's go ahead and move on to the next segment, so... And that way we can able to potentially try to you know, hunt down for some more of the forms of that particular Leon souls in general, so we can pretty much expect how this is going, so... Alright, so let's climb up the ladder, so just in case... Oh gosh, we now have to deal with the forms of gust of wind in order able to actually grab certain of those Leon souls right here. So yeah, we pretty much expect how the fact that every now and then now is the fact that certain Leon souls might be a bit difficult to obtain sometimes. Although, honestly, apart from that one in particular annoying moment where it comes to the forms of Forgo horns, where it comes to trying to utilize them with the forms of gust of wind, while at the same time though is the fact that, well, if you miss one of them, you can either die or essentially restart the whole entire level, which means you have to able to go all the way back into the previous segments of the level all over again. So yeah, that won't be that fun if you manage to able to accidentally exit off the level like this. Even especially noticeable if you're in the middle portion of the level, and then basically if you found out you're actually missing something, then basically though is the fact that you're potentially going to get screwed, and then basically it'll able to actually screw up your play times pretty high, like specifically with all that replay the exact same levels or anything else to be more specific. If you're having struggling trying to find you know what I mean, specific amount of things and all that jazz. Well, for the most part, it's the fact that I'm pretty much going to be alright when it comes to likely, well, it's hard to explain because again, it's been 2 days ago since I actually last played this, especially noticeable that, well, as far as the forms of the future uploading schedules of this game is concerned though, well, as far as what was originally attempted for. Anyways, let's go ahead and grab that particular souls here. And I get the feeling that the last one might be potentially going to have to be on somewhere on top of that particular anchor right here. But here's the thing, we need to activate the bomb block, so just in case we can able to create those platforms there. And sure enough, there's a shiny spot, and there it is right here. So yeah, pretty easy when you're trying to figure this out. So anyway, so now let's go ahead and move on to the next area, which I can assure you it might be something new for the sake of the forms of this particular variation of this. So yeah, because I'm pretty sure that about the fact that, like I said before, oh, there's a redstone right there. So that way we can able to actually save that for later. So but that won't be until specifically in the next couple of weeks' time, because, well, after this particular recording sessions goes, what I'm gonna do is the fact that I'm actually gonna be taking a break on this game for a little while, because obviously that since we are pretty much a bit of a struggle when it comes to able to try to hit back onto other recording sessions for the sake of the forms of uploading schedules as far as this is concerned, because obviously after the events of that pretty terrible middle portion of April for the sake of this year so far, because obviously you know what I mean. So as a result though, that I'm also able to actually hit back into this, maybe at some point by the end of May, so just in case we can able to actually get a bit of time, so that way we can able to actually complete the entire Let's Play. Ah, darn it. Okay, whatever. At the very least we got ourselves another Dragon Fire ability as soon as whenever we lost it, so that's okay by my part. And let's go ahead and grab the one of those Leon souls again. So yeah, because in this particular room we need to able to lit up every single lanterns as much as you can, so just in case we can able to actually just to see around in the dark. And on top of all that stuff though, occasionally that we will able to actually stumble across into something like this room right here, or in this case for that particular area right there, as we activate the switch from, and that way we can able to get ourselves even more Leon Souls from here. So yeah, you get the idea of how this is going to turn out, and I somehow once again lost my fire ability again, because I wasn't paying attention, that's why. And thus, because I somehow got distracted by the forms of that particular, my laptop is actually blowing very, very hard, especially noticeable because, well, I honestly have no idea why it's been reacting like that. But regardless of such though, we can able to actually do something like, oh god, okay. That was pretty close, especially noticeable that hopefully we can able to actually obtain the ring mouth full mode, so we can able to actually just get rid of the forms of those fire log stack until we can able to actually just to guarantee that well, it's not necessarily there, but rather over there, so that way we can get ourselves another 3 Leon Souls. So either way though, yeah, that pretty much concludes it from here. So, potentially speaking, of course, there will be a boss fight coming up. So, in this case, though, we know exactly what the next boss fight is going to be. So, of course, it might be something more related to the armadillo and all that jazz, which we pretty much know what to expect. It's going to be, obviously, going to be the phantom version of Silly Dulo, as far as I can usually try to say things correctly. So, again, apologize for that particular commentary, it's a little bit iffy, but regardless of such though, it's not too bad. Oh god, he looks a lot more creepier than I expected. So anyways, you know the idea, basically is the fact that we can able to deal the amount of damage to Phantom Silly Dulo, except now that he does have 2 new attacks, which are, usually he tosses the forms of some duplicates of Kirby dolls, which actually act out like bombs and all that jazz, and then we move on to the next phase, although not necessarily this phase, because obviously it plays out exactly the same. Although, until whenever we get to the 3rd phase, then basically it'll act out a little bit more differently. So in this case though, let's go ahead and do some, once again, quick dodges, despite I failed that particular dodge. Oh, Jesus Louise, he's gonna do it again with, like, instantaneous. But regardless of such though, it's pretty easy when you get the hang of it, so although he might as well be able to actually just to do this again, or maybe he's probably gonna toss some Kirby dolls to able to act out like bombs and all that jazz. And of course, just like the forms of the regular fights, you need to dodge the actual the cage, so just in case you have to do a quick time event. So by simply able to rotate the control stick several times. Oh yeah, here's something different. He now causes the forms of a sandstorm, so just in case that makes it up for the challenge. But regardless of anything else though, is the fact that when you have your Dragon Fire equipped with you, then this entire battle will be totally a cakewalk if you manage to know what you're doing. So in this case though, let's go ahead and do some more quick dodges here and there. At least thankfully we don't need to worry about the forms of that particular mission objectives now, like I said, because obviously the main focus is obviously we need to, well, specifically trying to obtain any of Leon's soul as much as we can. And there we go, that pretty much wraps it up for the forms of Forgo Wasteland, especially noticeable after dealing with the forms of Phantom Silly Dulo, so we can able to get the 5 remaining souls in this level. So yeah, looking all good so far, especially noticeable is way better than my first attempt of this recording session, because, again, like I said, if I'm missing something here, then I refuse to able to do the entire level all over again. And not to mention though, because, well, it might be kind of a drag on at points. Well, I don't necessarily try to find it a bit dragged on. But anyway, so we got ourselves a figurine, as you can tell, that we actually got ourselves the Phantom Gorimondo. So, yeah, that's actually pretty swell. And here we go, rather, on to the next level, which appears to be body forms of Forgo Zone. So, I can assure you that particular level was actually based off from, obviously, since World 6, which appears to be Redgar of Forbidden Lands. So, yeah, let's head into there right now. So, I think this will be the last level to able to feature some Leon Soul collectibles. So, naturally, there are only 51 of them in total, so we can pretty much expect that pretty much will lead us to exactly 300 of these things. So, And I think I get the strong feeling that we off by one in particular soul left until we're able to actually get that specific requirement in order able to actually just to progress. At least as far as I can recall that. So, and I know you guys are probably thinking about the fact that, hey, aren't you gonna do the forms of the last few treasure roads coming up? Well, I think I should probably save that for later, because obviously we need to take care of the forms of this world first. And because of that though, one thing to be expect, that basically, as soon as we're able to actually just to, well, I can't afford able to speak about this right now because I need to focus on this. That's the only reason why I'm speaking a little bit awkwardly. But regardless of such though, we can able to actually just to, well, just to focus on that stuff, because I refuse to able to actually get hit so many times. Especially noticeable about the fact that, well, much like in new forms of how it does it on Redgar Forbidden Lands, that basically we can't afford able to touch any of the lava or fire, because obviously that's, well, you know what I mean, so. Anyways, let's make our way to this biggest leaps of faith while trying to able to utilize the tornado ability, so that way we can get able to get ourselves, what else? Even more souls from here. So yeah, you pretty much of how this is going to turn out to be, because, well, it seems pretty obvious that we pretty much almost nearly at the end of the game. So yeah, you pretty much expect how that's going to turn out and all that stuff. So anyway, let's just go ahead and use the Ice Kirby for a little bit, so just in case we can able to protect ourselves from the actual, well, fire and lava and all that jazz. Especially noticeable we can able to skate around and all that stuff, so. So anyways, let's go ahead and equip the Dragon Fire again, so that way we can able to get our strong attack from any other enemy encounters and all that jazz, so, okay, I wasn't exactly know where I was going, because I almost first thought I fell into the actual pit below, but regardless of such though, I somehow managed able to survive somehow, so. Anyway, so let's go ahead and, oh jeez Louise! Don't want to get hit by that particular crash-like enemy and all that jazz. And I just get a strong sense of feeling there might be a shiny effect right there. So that way we can able to actually go down there and grab more souls from here. So yeah. And I get the feeling that this level might be actually be kind of longish, especially noticeable because since that this is obviously based off from the forms of in you know, like I said, Redgar Forbidden Lands world, because obviously that that world originally did have like roughly 6 levels. Well, I would say 5 regular levels, including the boss fight. So we can pretty much expect how that's going to be represented with that stuff. So anyways, let's grab some hot dog, or to be more specifically chili dogs for the Sonic the Hedgehog series and all that stuff. So, because yeah, I've already seen the forms of the trailer for the sake of, or specifically the teaser trailer for the sake of the forms of Sonic Prime for the Netflix series, including by the forms of the actual 10-second trailer for the My Little Pony Make Your Mark series. So because of that though, I'm actually really excited for both of these. Although as far as I'm aware as well from that as far as I've managed able to discover something that's a little bit more interesting to say the least, especially noticeable about the fact that since I'm still the brony after all, is the fact that what I've noticed is the fact that several of voice casts, especially noticeable, actually I'll get to more now in a second, because I just get the strong sense of feeling I'm actually missing something here. So again, it's pretty easy to miss if you have a first time experiencing any of those levels, but regardless of everything else though, we can able to try to find it in here somewhere. So okay, it's definitely not down there, so it has to be somewhere very well hidden. So could it be possibly something related to, oh, I think I actually see that bomb block just right down there. So yeah, we can pretty much expect how the fact that, again, sometimes that finding those things can be kind of tricky to find sometimes if you have a first time experiencing those particular levels like this, especially noticeable if you're trying to aim for, you know what I mean, the 100% completion. But again, it's just the fact that sometimes it can be hard to find. So anyway, as far as I'm aware, it's the fact that usually, as far as I'm aware, as far as what some other comments did say, that basically they did say that the voice is confirmed is none other than Devon Mack. So yeah, I think he's going to be voicing Sonic as far as I can usually recall that correctly. So yeah, that's going to be interesting. And as far as I'm aware, that's one of those familiar voice actors based off from My Little Pony, Friendship is Magic, including one of them from Dragon Ball Z, or in this case Dragon Ball Z, Dragon Ball Super and stuff like that every now and then. So in this case though, we have Ashla Ball, that she voiced Rainbow Dash and Applejack, so yeah, that's actually interesting. As well as the forms of Shannon Chan Kent, that she voiced Silver Spoon and Smolder, and especially noticeable with Pinkie Pie's singing voice. So yeah, it's kind of interesting. And lastly, when it comes to the forms of one of those male characters, as far as I can recall, which appears to be Brian Drummond, which I think he voiced Mr. Cake and Filthy Rich, and as well as Vegeta from Dragon Ball Z and Dragon Ball Super. So yeah, kind of interesting voice cast wise, especially noticeable about the fact that I could imagine that basically those voices were able to actually be on the Sonic the Hedgehog Netflix series and all that stuff though, so it could be interesting though. So, but we'll see what happens during at some point until when the first official trailer for the actual Netflix series will be up and running. So, but then again though, we'll see what happens in due time, so. And unfortunately though, as far as anything else I would like to discuss upon is the fact that unfortunately though, there's not much else we can able to talk about for any video game presentations every now and then, because there are still no luck of the forms of trying to able to not only revealed more Nintendo Direct related things, well, at least I'm hoping it will be, and during at some point in next month, but to be more specifically, with the absence of the forms of ND World. Like, seriously, where is ND World? Like, I know for the fact it has been about 2 months ago since we actually last heard about the forms of Nintendo-based presentations since Pokemon Presents, that not only does it reveal DLC stuff from Pokemon Legends Arceus, as well as the forms of some more updates on several other free app games and all that jazz, as well as the first reveal of Pokemon Generation 9, in this case Scarlet and Violet, for the Nintendo Switch. So, but aside from all that stuff though, it feels like that May feels a bit kind of bare bones to me, but apart from the fact that, well, relatively speaking, it's just the fact that there are couple of games are coming out for it, like for instance, you know what I mean, with the forms of Pac-Man Museum Plus, as far as I'm aware. Well, despite the fact that I haven't exactly watched that particular trailer for the actual compilation game for such a long while, mainly because I somehow got distracted by the forms of other stuff worth noting for, so. And on top of all that stuff, though, it's just the fact that, oh, and also My Little Pony, a Maritime Bay adventure for, you know, PlayStation 4, Xbox One, Nintendo Switch, and PC, including Steam as well. So, yeah, you probably get the idea about that. There's also another reason why I've decided able to actually realize that, remember what I said before, back in the forms of about a few parts ago or something like that? That, basically, though, is the fact that one of those classic Sonic games will be delisted for the sake of the forms of, well, to be more specifically, when it comes to the forms of the 3 platforms, which are Xbox 360, PlayStation 3, and PC Steam, for certain classic Sonic games, the only game exception being Sonic CD, because obviously it's been made by Christian Whitehead and stuff like that. So as a result though, they'll be delisted until just before, you know, Sonic Origins is about to be releasing. So because of that though, that's another reason why that I somehow decided to able to actually manage to able to quit out the actual emphasis on the forms of, you know, PC Steam, because I'm not exactly a PC Steam gamer, well, as far as I can usually remember, because I usually do remember playing a PC back in a long time ago, but as far as memories goes, like playing a Bug's Life on the PC, which I did have a decent time, but the ones I do enjoy the most is Donald Duck Quack Attack for the PC, which is obviously based off from the version which is usually from the forms of the N64 version and the Sega Dreamcast version, at least as far as I can usually recall that, so. But you know, you get the idea about that, so. Alright, so let's move on to the next segment, where, you know, basically we need to deal with all kinds of stuff around here, such as, for instance, that I get the strong sense of feeling we had to use the different kinds of mouthful abilities in order able to actually just to not only deal with the forms of mini-boss fights again, but ultimately speaking, we do need to able to use those specific abilities until we can probably able to actually just to get ourselves the forms of, what else? Some more Leon Souls, potentially, so... But yeah, you know, you get the idea about that, so... So anyways, another thing I want to explain about this as well is the fact that recently I did manage able to watch the finale episode where it comes to the forms of Moon Knight, and as a result though, I had a blast watching it, especially noticeable because obviously with certain action scenes and all that jazz, there's always like a blast to watch. And also I did manage to watch Eternals for the first time, thanks to the forms of Disney Plus managed able to actually include it. And it's not that very good in my opinion, especially noticeable. It doesn't feel like a Marvel film to me. It's almost like the forms of like, I don't know, like DC movie or something like that. Even though, mind you, I haven't exactly watched that much reviews of Marvel's Eternals for my entire portions because, well, as far as I'm aware, it did okay enough for the reviews alike, but as far as I'm aware, it's not my cup of tea personally. Well, and usually as far as I can usually count as canon or something like that, mind you, I haven't exactly looked upon that much of the forms of the Marvel film's timeline as far as that's been concerned, so yeah, I do apologize for that particular topics worth noting for, but anyway, so let's just go ahead and deal with, you know, some more mini-boss fights, but this time with 2 in a row, so in this case, again, we don't need to worry about just able to try to deal with the most frustrating mission, like, you know, not to get hit by certain enemy encounters and all that jazz, but we can pretty much expect how that's gonna turn out, so... Anyway, so now we deal with those 2 right here, so that should be alright and such. So it feels like we're almost nearly at the end where it comes to able to obtaining every single souls at this point, so at least at the very least we are pretty much almost done here, so there's the hole right here, so we can able to actually use the vending machine and stuff like that. Oh, and the last thing I want to say, since that after all, this is the you know, the 5th of May we're talking about, and that is the fact that, well, as far as the forms of the Star Wars month as far as this is concerned, that is basically, that was actually the day is based off from, I would say, Revenge of the 5th, which is actually referenced by the forms of Revenge of the Sith from the likes of in Episode 3. So, yeah, you probably get the idea about that. In this case, the final film of the prequels, so, released in 2005, of course, so... Anyway, so we got ourselves even more beast pack enemies and all that jazz, so we can able to expect that we can able to deal with them again, including body forms of some familiar Kirby enemies and all that jazz in the past, so yeah, you pretty much expect how this go turns out, so... Alright, so let's go ahead and charge up our... okay, whatever. So at the very least we can able to get that hammer ability again, so there goes those, so... Alright, get the feeling we got the cone, so just in case we can able to deal with this guy, and that way, we can probably expect that we can able to actually get 3 more of those particular Leon Souls, and then we'll get the final 5 until we're able to face off against with another boss. So, in this case, the, I would say, Phantom Forgo DDD, at least as far as I can usually concern with that stuff. So it might be pretty tough though, but thankfully we actually got ourselves the maximum tomato, so in this case, let's go and deal with the Phantom Forgo DDD, so we can able to actually deal with him, so... I think to me though, it's kind of feels a bit difficult than the forms of how it does it on the first time we fight against this particular boss, because after all, that he got himself his more attacks, and thus very similar to the forms of Super Mario 64, specifically in Bowser in the Fire Sea, that every once in a while he will decide to able to actually just do some pounding when it comes to the forms of trying to able to tilt the arena around. So it kind of feels a bit similar, except the fact that basically is the fact that, well, relatively speaking, it takes place in a different environment, while it's still pretty much in lava basically, so... yeah, I have no idea why I say things gibberish about it, because, again, that's as far as I can usually try to discuss upon for this point, guys, especially noticeable, like, well, as far as the forms of the Star Wars Day stuff, as far as they did revealed, back in the forms of been yesterday, obviously they did reveal, if I recall correctly, two things I can remember, which are, Obi-Wan Kenobi trailer, as well as the forms of the DLC for Star Wars the Skywalker Saga game. So, and I think that's as far as saying goes, that's as far as I can remember. So, yeah, anyway, let's just go ahead and deal with this second phase now, just like the forms of how it does it on the first time we actually fight against him from the regular main world. So, at the very least, we can able to actually just, seriously, those things are very hard to dodge sometimes. Even whenever I first got there on my own time, that it did honestly took me about 3 attempts. Mainly due to the fact that I wasn't exactly what I was about to be doing, or maybe because I haven't exactly equipped my life up bottle and all that jazz. So, probably because I was a little bit too hasty sometimes. But luckily, since we did manage to use the masked hammer this whole time, so that means we can able to deal with a massive amount of damage to the forms of, you know, Phantom Forgo DDDD. So, yeah, we're pretty much done with Forgo Zone. So, yeah, pretty swell, I have to say. And of course, since we actually got all 51 of those souls, and this also means we pretty much gotten every single Leon's soul throughout the majority of this world. So, yeah, that's basically it. And let's see what's in here. We got ourselves, oh yeah, the deep sleep figurine right here. So, that's to be expected at this point. So, anyway, so now we're done with that. And now it's going to move on to the last level on this world. So in this case though, it could be something more accurately based off from Lab Discoverer. But first things first though, as you can see, we've reached up to 300 of those Leon souls. So in this case, we can pretty much expect that we can able to own a special figure. So in this case though, we can pretty much expect what does it contains inside of that particular blue capsule right here. In some cases, we've got not only Leon, but also Clara as well. Well, at least as far as I can try to able to pronounce that name very well, so I do apologize for that. So here we go, on to Forgo Land. In this case, the final level on this world. So, in this case, the true final level in the game. Well, at least if you want to include the forms of that particular thing coming up, but let's not get ahead of ourselves at this point, because, you know, let's dive right into Forgo Land, and hopefully we can able to rescue Leon himself. So, because after all, we actually got enough of those, you know what I mean with those Leon souls in general, so, yeah, we can pretty much expect how this is going. So yeah, here we are. So in this case though, let's go straight towards him. And there goes all their souls. Well, at the very least, he looks okay. So, yeah, I guess it's about time we can able to celebrate. Such as this, the forms of that victory dance here, so, yeah, to be expected. Oh, wait a second. Something doesn't feel right. Oh, we have Forgo Leon. Ah, he got possessed. So, if you think we're pretty much done here, well, it turns out that we still got a whole ways to go. So in this case though, here we go, on to Forgo Leon. In this case, the, something like the equivalent version of, you know what I mean, with the forms of the majority of the Phantom boss fights from the likes of the majority of this world. So, I get the strong sense of feeling that this might actually be kind of a tricky level. Well, aside from the fact that, well, I'm basically fully equipped with my, you know, full health and everything, as well as the forms of that particular upgrade weapon, such as, of course, masked hammer and all that jazz. So, you know what I mean, you have to do a lot of quick dodges every now and then, and on top of all that stuff though, stay away from his attacks, especially noticeable that he's trying to able to, you know, trying to trap you every once in a while, but regardless of such though, it might be pretty easy when you get the hang of it, so as a result though, assuming if you try to utilize quick dodges a lot of times, so, oh jeez, okay. This is getting too much, or specifically, he needs to chill. But anyway, that does it for that phase. But if you think he's done, well, turns out he's not done yet, so... That's what appears to be exactly the same creature as we saw familiar ago from Lab Discoverer. But now that he's actually a lot more stronger, so in this case though, we definitely need to be very cautious here, especially noticeable just... You know, trying to dodge his attacks and all that jazz, which obviously that'll be the key factor about this, so... Oh, jeez, he needs to chill, man. But anyway, although I totally get it that he's got possessed, so, okay. Let's go charge up the hammer, and boom! That's actually quite a ridiculous amount of damage right there. Although, if you try to able to equip attack boost, then you should probably be able to actually deal with a massive amount of damage to this guy. So, anyway, so let's go ahead and deal with more hits, and, well, sure enough, you're probably gonna summon that particular strange creature again. Well, as long as we can able to actually just to, you know, charge up the hammer attack, and boom! He's done. Whew! But if you think we've done, well, we still got one last thing to do. So in this case, we now need to face up against with... Oh jeez, solve Forgo. Wait, what's going on here? How come there's a weird butterfly right here? Hold on a second. Oh my god, who's up with this guy? Morpho Knight. Huh, interesting. So for those of you who don't know, but I guess it's about a few of you at this point, I think he was originally from the likes of the forms of his first appearance from the likes of Kirby Star Allies. Like, if you try to play through, let's just say, Star Allies Go and stuff like that, like, basically it's like the second run-through of the actual story mode in that game, but except the fact that you can play as everybody with all that allies in mind. So basically, we're going to be fighting against with the forms of Morpho Knight, as you can see, which pretty much potentially is by far the hardest boss fight in the game in my opinion, mainly because, well, first off, that he teleports way too much, and second is the fact that his attacks can be felt a bit kind of difficult at times, I'm not gonna lie. Although for the most part, that if you try to utilize the hammer ability, you should be fine. Well, as long as you were able to best to equip it, because obviously if you don't decide to upgrade your copy abilities at all, then you might have a hard time with this boss fight, especially noticeable about the fact that, well, relatively speaking, generally this is by far the hardest boss fight in the game in my opinion. Well, along with the forms of another one coming up, but then again though, we'll save that for later. Oh, and by the way, if you get involved with that attack, basically you somehow manage to get into a weird screen effects right here, which actually gives you like, I don't know, like disorientation at times. Well, as far as I'm aware, I don't know how this lasts for, because whenever I first got there, much like the forms of how it does it on, let's just say Phantom Forgo DDD, or in some cases, yeah, that it also took me 3 attempts because I wasn't exactly sure of what I was doing. So in this case though, let's go and use the life up bottle, so just in case I could not able to actually refuse, to able to actually restart this entire battle again. So let's not get ahead of ourselves at this point, because we need to deal with, you know, some more damage to this guy. But yeah, you get the idea. Oh god. Some stupid fire flames. And also try to able to send out the actual star projectile at him sometimes, if you try to inhale the star projectile back at him. Kind of feels a bit difficult at times. Well, at least as far as to me anyway, so... Oh god. So much to work with. But at least the boss battle looks pretty intense, I'm not gonna lie. Especially noticeable how the fact that, again, it's a bit tougher, but regardless of such though, is the fact that it kind of feels a bit similar to the forms of how it does it on the Mennonite boss fight that we already fought against with him, since in Mennonite Cup. So, in this case though, we can pretty much expect of how, okay, he's almost done now, come on, I need to finish him off for good. Oh, good lord. He just loves to teleport, I'm telling you. Come on, he's almost done now. He's almost done. Oh, come on. Come on. I need to finish him off. Boom. Oh. Not gonna lie, that was actually kind of intense, I'm telling you. So there goes Morpho Knight. It kind of feels like kind of similar to Galactic Knight from the past games. Although, except the fact that, well, relatively speaking, now I don't think we can probably see him anytime soon, so, at least as far as I can recall, so, and it looks like that we actually come across into the final blueprint right here, which appears to be Morpho Knight's sword, so, anyway, so let's finish off the level for good, by able to actually just to see if, you know, Leon is okay. Oh, something doesn't feel right here. Oh, chlorine. And the rest of the forms of that particular enemies as we thought. Including bosses here and there as well. That's actually interesting. Although the only one exception in particular is Tropic Woods, because he doesn't move. Yay, he's alive! So, suffice to say, I'm pretty sure it's like the best ending of the game, so because obviously we've now rescued, you know, Leon from trapped inside the forms of that particular possessed kind of control, and of course, just like any forms of how it does it on the normal ending, we got ourselves the death credit sequence along with the exactly the same, the New World music or something like that. So, yeah, that's basically how this goes, basically. So, I would like to give you my final thoughts of Kirby and the Forgotten Land, but I think I should probably save that until maybe in the next few weeks, because as far as I'm aware, well, the game is not exactly over yet, again, because, well, we still got a whole ways to go. Because after all, we've pretty much collected, you know, every single Leon Souls now, so because of this though, the only thing that's left now is just, well, we can now able to explore the majority of the forms of the Waddle D Town for the majority of everything. Oh, and also the forms of how the fact that I'm presuming to you that we can pretty much expect that we can able to actually upgrade our final copy ability, along with the forms of trying to deal with the forms of the last few treasure roads coming up. So potentially speaking though, that yeah, that's the reason why I say that, well, that we still have not done yet. So, but then again though, I don't mind the forms of some more content here and there, because obviously that's a good thing we save specific amount of content for later, just in case that we don't get distracted by, well, you know what I mean, quite a number of things basically. So yeah, that's basically how it goes basically. So now I believe in this particular staff credit sequence right here, it feels kind of like similar to the forms of how it does it on the first credit sequence, except now that for those pictures right there is actually based off from when he went through Isolated Isles Forgo Dreams, basically. Like, you know, when we collected enough souls, and then we somehow managed able to rescue Leon and all that jazz, but somehow he got possessed to begin with, from the likes of the forms of that other things worth noting for, and of course the actual, a revisit, technically speaking, despite the fact that we haven't exactly played Kirby Star Allies just yet though. Like I said before, until 2023, or maybe I should probably save that conversation until whenever I go back onto Super Mario 3D All-Stars into Super Mario Sunshine until next month, potentially, just in time for summer. So, yeah, that's basically how it goes, basically, when it comes to this particular conversation, as well as the commentary for this video. So, yeah, that sounds like part of a plan, after all. So yeah, look at that amazing image. And what is up with this particular Colosseum picture, I wonder? Well, it could be something, alright. And what is up with that strange little white silhouette right here? That could be only being one thing in mind, because, well, if you've been following through our Let's Plays of, let's just say, Kirby Superstar Ultra, as well as the forms of Kirby's Return to Dreamland, I can assure you that might be something worth coming up. So, look at that amazing photo frame right there. We got the rest of the Kirby cast, along with the forms of the majority of the Beast pack, including bosses here now as well, where again, the only exception being the forms of, you know, tropical woods, or tropic woods, because, you know, he stands on one place. So, the end indeed. Because obviously that, well, that pretty much concludes the majority of the story mode. So, but then again, like I said before, we're not done with the game yet, because we still got more stuff to go. So in this case, now we're able to actually head back into the game. So in this case, as you can see, we actually stumbled across the a different icon for that particular entrance. So in this case, the 3-star shield with 2 swords on it, which means we've now actually access to the final cup in the game, the Ultimate Cup Z. So that could be the equivalent to the True Arena from the past Kirby games, basically. And also we can now able to have the final ability to upgrade for, so in this case let's do that quickly, so just in case we're able to actually get enough, not only star coins, but also just quite enough of those rare stones that we actually gotten through, so. And hopefully, we can pretty much expect that, I can assure you, if you somehow managed able to upgrade your copy abilities and all that jazz, so. Oh, I was off by 2 rare stones. Ah, that's a bit disappointing, especially noticeable. I was really looking forward to able to actually just to, well, grind for rare stones alike, but, damn, I was literally so close. But, I do apologize for that language there, because I was literally so close. So, yeah, I guess with all that being said, though, is the fact that since that everything else is now returning peace after all, so, yeah, relatively speaking, at this point in time, I think I should probably end things off here. So join us next time for more of Let's Play of Kirby and the Forgotten Land. Is the fact that we'll start things off with some extra stuff, including the remainings of the Treasure Roads, along with the forms of some mini-games, and all the other jazz. So I'll see you guys until the next few weeks, so in this case on the 24th of May, so I'll see you guys on that day. Later, fellas.